Chai FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
And this morning we are joined by some fascinating people. I've actually been following them for a while. I'm not even sure how I went down that rabbit hole, but I did, along with hundreds of thousands of other people. So obviously I didn't get it completely wrong. But what am I talking about? Well, I am talking about a family who has managed to use social media platforms to do something a lot different. Social media, as we know, as I well know, is, we don't need to elaborate further, but is often a place of toxicity, of poison. For me, it's of death threats, but that's okay. We'll put that aside for now. It's very, very rare that we see something just incredibly positive. And that, of course, is Raizel and Dani Namdar, who are best known as That Jewish Family. Very, very inspiring, positive, yet unafraid to take on some difficult topics. So the two of you are in South Africa for the first time. You're in Cape Town. How is it? How is the mother city?
Firstly, thank you for having us. It's an honor to be on here. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the introduction there. That was very kind.
A great pleasure. All absolutely true. Let's talk about who were Raizel and Dani before That Jewish Family became a thing.
Oops.
Just two young people.
You think we're old now?
No, I think where we?
No.
We started when we practically got married. No, we started
Exactly.
early.
We started even earlier, yeah.
Even earlier.
When I was dating, I used to make videos of every spot we dated in. So after the date, trying to be like
Romantic.
I used to make a video after the day in that spot and trying to see if Raizel will realize. I don't think you realized.
I did realize.
So were you?
Danny was making videos in Swedish.
Yes.
From Sweden.
Yes.
And I'm from Australia. I'm from Sydney.
Right.
So it's nice to come to Cape Town. It's quite popular.
Were you both already involved in social media? Well, Dani, obviously you were on some level.
Well, I was making videos about Judaism, like these little weekly snippets. It used to be called Espresso Parsha.
Mm-hmm.
And people found it very fascinating how this Hasidic Jew with a beard is yabbling away in Swedish. And I think a lot of people were amused by that, and they were listening to, and I was kind of connecting the location to what I was saying. And I think people kind of liked that a little. And once I got married,
I was not. Eventually, it took me time.
I was going to ask that because it's.
I never asked you for it.
If you go through sort of this traditional upbringing, and I don't think the Chabad community is different to others in the sense that there's this expectation that you're going to get married and you're going to live somewhere, and please God you'll have kids and you'll build a life of meaning, but it doesn't necessarily mean to find somebody that shares this ridiculous spirit of adventure, and I say that in a very positive way, it must be quite unusual.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a trailblazing in the beginning. People didn't really, not in a bad way. They were just like, "What are you guys doing?" Because
what's your intention?
What's your intention with this? We did a nomadic lifestyle for 3.5 years, but we just were making the videos and not living from a home base or anything. And then with our first kid, Mendel was born when we started, and then we had our second kid. We were still living on the road, and I think that was very different for a lot of people. They're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
But thank God.
To answer your question, I think. No, I was going to say that we're both from Chabad Shluchim homes. So both me and Raizel were both brought up with the, infusion of the Lubavitch Rebbe's teaching to, live your Jewish life, not just for yourself, but try to inspire the world. And with social media today, this is very much what was the Rebbe's intention, to bring Judaism across the world after the Holocaust, trying to revive Yiddishkeit and Judaism. And it kind of led to this, okay, the people in the world are now on their phones scrolling. Let's make videos.
So what's interesting about it is two aspects that come to mind for me. When social media started to become a thing, something I noticed was that whereas a lot of the Frum communities shied away from it, the Chabad community actually was, I would say, the first, in my experience, and I haven't analyzed this properly, it's only anecdotal, seemed to me to be the first to say, hold on a minute, there's something positive that can be done here, which is very much in a way what underscores the Chabad philosophy, which is let's take something and make it positive. Why do we have to give it over to this negativity and this ugliness? Let's do that. And then the second aspect is the whole idea of shlichut, because listen, I think you two have taken it to another level, but it's not uncommon for emissaries to go somewhere in the world and live in some very, very difficult places in order to spread the word of God. So here it's fascinating to me, combining these notions of using social media for positive and traveling and being in, going to different parts of the world. It does in a way seem quite natural. That said, it's still a little bit out the box. How is it viewed from within the Chabad community and even from within your own families?
So I think, firstly, what you said is quite spot on, because the Chabad, as everyone knows, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who, sent shluchim across the world. In his time, the social media, I guess, was TV and television. And even though it wasn't common then, the Rebbe would have his talks broadcasted on television across the world. So it's not something new for Chabad in the sense, like, to take something that, like, could be used for either positive or negative and just, what do we do with this? It was very much like, no, we take these tools that are now in 2026 and we make sure to use it for good and for light and to bring positivity, because everyone's on it anyways. That's
what you're doing as well.
Exactly, using the radio for positivity.
Certainly trying, but indeed.
You're doing a good job. So that's not new. That wouldn't be new for Chabad. Like, I just go back to that TV example. But the social media aspect, I think, was kind of new, because even though the concept makes sense and it's aligned, whenever something's new, something, has a bit of a like, what's going on? It makes noise,
But put it this way, I think that there's so many different couples looking to go on shlichut in all these different countries, but there's so many, thank God, there's like almost no places left. I think this is the next phase. I feel like in a few years, it's just going to be natural. You're going to see more and more and more young couples just focusing their lives on social media, because you can reach so many people. In one day, you can reach millions of people. And so many people, this is their first interaction ever with Yiddishkeit. And they've been living their whole lives yearning to connect, or some connection they don't even know about. Tefillin or Shabbos candles, they know nothing, but they want to connect, but they just don't have, the access. Not everyone feels comfortable walking into a shul, but everyone feels comfortable scrolling. So it kind of came to an age where Yiddishkeit is so accessible and everyone can reach it. So there's so many people reaching out and they're having their first interaction with Yiddishkeit, and for many people it's transformative.
And I think beyond that, it's also very cool that you could reach also the not Jewish crowd that are fascinated. They don't have much interaction maybe with Jews or never met a Jew before, and are just seeing on social media whatever the algorithm's feeding them. And it's also an important, way to just be.
You can't expect everyone to have a good opinion about Jews if they've never.
Well, that's exactly, because we that vacuum of never having met a Jew is filled often by something negative, which is a danger. Of course, the other thing that you've done, that a third aspect of the Chabad way, in a sense, is as somebody who's traveled an extensive amount, wherever you travel in the world, the first thing you do is find out where there's a Chabad, because you can get food, you can get a minyan, and etc. But in this sense, what you're doing is showing people that, in fact, you can live a religious and meaningful life no matter where you are in the world. So that almost shows people that ability, which I think is remarkable. With all of this, there's sometimes that I watch some of your videos and I feel uncomfortable for you guys, in the sense that there's certain subjects that maybe as religious Jews you wouldn't ask somebody. I would know not to ask you certain questions. Now, I get that your whole point is education, but you're sometimes asked things that make me uncomfortable as a 58-year-old guy that can pretty much say anything to anybody and I do, unfortunately, but yet I feel like you're asked questions sometimes that are so deeply personal and connect to Judaism and Yiddishkeit, and yet you deal with them. How do you manage that?
That's a good question. So I would say there's definitely like a line that is our own privacy that wouldn't be crossed between us, like our own personal space that we wouldn't go over. But besides for that, exactly what you said is the reason we make those videos, that you would never be comfortable to ask someone something. But there are so many topics in Judaism that aren't spoken about, but are so beautiful once you understand. And people might know a little tidbit of it and be like, that makes no sense. That's ridiculous. What is this Judaism? So I feel like we have this opportunity where people aren't, like, they're asking us over the screen, but they don't feel like necessarily that they're asking a person face to face. So it has that less uncomfortable barrier.
It's called keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors, exactly. The same way people write very difficult comments that they wouldn't say to your face, but they'll write it over the keyboard.
They could be the biggest warrior in the world on a keyboard, but when it comes face to face, they'll be polite and give you a smile,
So I think it's cool that we have that opportunity to break those boundaries of questions that you don't necessarily speak about in person, but here you can still have a personable connection regarding these topics in Judaism. I think it's cool that we have that. But then we do have that line where it comes to our private.
You're right. And I guess you get to decide that. You've got those questions. You could decide to ignore something or take it on. Which is, what do you think you've gained personally as a couple? What have you gained most from this lifestyle?
Wow, what a good question. That's a good. No one's ever asked me that.
That's a good question.
Great. I feel like I've gained a deeper understanding of what life is about. I think it made me so much more mature, interacting with the people just in the DMs and just people opening up. A lot of people are it's crazy to say, but if you don't realize, we meet people every day, but we don't know what they're going through. To us, they open up in the DMs and they message us and they say that they want to take their own life. And, the videos have helped them and it gave them a sense of friendship. They never wanted a family, but now they want a family. And people really have hardships and they really have no one to turn to. And they have no one else. So they turn to us because they feel like they know us, because they watch so many of our videos and they feel like we're going to be sympathetic. And we try to be as much as we can.
Because you're coming from a genuine place.
We want to do the right thing. We want to be there for people. We want to help people. We're not just making videos for ourselves. We're doing this for a purpose. I think it's taught me what really life is about and what to focus life on. We can be very distracted. The world's very noisy. And everyone just seems to copy each other. Everyone has a pattern. The pattern is, in this generation, we do this and this, that, and every country you go to when you travel, you realize the pattern has a massive shift. In one country, everyone's very excited about this, and this is the new thing, fast fashion, right? And this is the new thing. And then you cross the border, and then they're all excited about that. I realized, don't be brainwashed. Think what's right. We have a moral compass of the Torah, and focus on the real values, because life is not forever. You got to enjoy it, and you got to have it the most meaningful way possible.
Love that. Raizel?
Don't be fooled. That's what I've learned. Don't be fooled.
That's a good one.
I like it. Raizel, your answer? What have you gained?
My answer, I would say, well, firstly, there really is a lot, but I would say maybe on more of a personal level. I think having the channel has taught me a lot, and this might sound funny, but to put aside, I feel like a lot of the times we live life and we're always like, oh, what's this person going to say about me? What's this person going to say about that? And you lose the courage to do anything. But I think when you're in this position, you're not going to make everyone happy, and there is going to be people who are like, what are you doing? What's this is terrible. What a bad video. Why would you say this? And you kind of learn, you can't live life based on what other people are saying. You live life for a purpose, for a meaning, for what you know is good, for what you feel is right, and not to let those voices affect how you're living. And I think that is what this has given me, that ability to do that, which is very helpful, I would say, in every aspect.
And it's giving you discipline.
Still working on my discipline.
It's a lifetime challenge.
No, that's it.
Right. How have you noticed in terms of your kids? Certainly, because we when our kids were younger, we lived in Israel, but we lived in New York. We moved back to South Africa, and what we found is we've thank God got 5 kids that are all, grown up now, but some of them absolutely loved that adventure. And some, I feel like, will spend their entire life in one home just because they're not doing this whole moving thing the way their mad parents did it. Talk to me about what you're seeing. Your kids are young, but from early on, they have a personality. What are you seeing with your kids?
100%. 100%. Well, I think that's also part of the reason that we did settle down now. We travel, but at least from a base is for the kids, that they could have a school to go to and have their social life and have their friends. And then while we still travel, they're at least coming back and have that sense of stability to the home that they're in. I think when they were younger and we were nomadic, it's very different with a 3.5-year-old. I felt more that the time he was spending with us is going to do much greater than any time he spends in school at that age. But now that they're getting older, I do feel that that's a big part of why we settled. But they also love it.
Good, yeah.
My Mendel turned to me the other day before he went to bed and he said, "Mommy, thanks for bringing us to South Africa."
Love that.
Which is
awesome.
very sweet.
Yeah.
I know. It was very sweet.
Yeah.
I think they all love it. I think they brought up with it. So that we have a strong appreciation for nature and wildlife and farms and all these things, and that's given over to them as well. So they also love animals and love nature.
Yeah. Still little. We'll see how the personalities, grow as they get older. If they say, "No, we don't want to go anymore," we'll see.
We'll have to respect that.
Exactly, take it as it comes.
So, are you living the dream, or is there still a dream?
There's always a dream. Thank God, living the dream and dreaming.
I think there's a big element of realizing that life has begun. People don't realize that. They postpone happiness for when they achieve their goals. And I think Judaism teaches us that life has begun. You're living your life now. You're living your best life now. You can have dreams, and you should have dreams, and you should always have bigger goals. But you should always choose to live life now. And I think that's also why we travel so much. That has that element to it as well. Why not?
Things could be a little, I'm sorry to disrupt you, but even when times are not maybe necessarily the easiest, it's very important to remember that these days are part of our life as well. One day we're going to look back and think of these days the same and be like, whoa, those years just pass very fast. So we try as much as we can in the situation that we have to enjoy and live in the moment and be present and live our life, and yet still have dreams that we want to accomplish still. And
there's a lot we want to do.
Good.
We're starting many different dreams that we want to accomplish. We're starting he's got a brand, like a clothing brand.
Oh, wow. That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is very, very cool.
It has a strong meaning to it. So I think that element will resonate.
So as soon as you're ready to share that with us, you'll come back onto the show, and we'll on one condition, and the condition is that we can actually buy it in South Africa, because otherwise it'll be too disappointing. But no, I think that's fantastic. We do need to wrap it soon, but
South Africa shipment.
Or maybe we can make it here. Make a version over here.
Oh, even
it's pretty expensive.
Even better. Yeah, exactly. What is a message? If there's one fundamental message that you would like to convey to people and to our listeners, I think in a way we're similar in the sense that only about 50% of our listeners are Jewish. So we've got Jewish listeners, we've got non-Jewish, we've got religious, non-religious. non-religious. We speak to a very broad group of people. What is that one message that you would absolutely love everybody to take on board?
There's an element in the Hasidic philosophy, which is living life with the concept of Bishvili Nivra Olam, which means the world was created for me. And that's not a self-centered approach. It's, if I were the only person in the world, how will I act? How will I live my life? Will I be comparing to others? Will I choose to be happy? Will I choose to do the right thing? If I was the only Jew in the world, will I, keep the heritage? Would I want to keep a kippah? Would I want to keep Shabbat? If I were the only, and even if I were the only person with this responsibility in my community, if I was that chosen person by God, how will I act? And I think that's a message that can constantly carry. Well, it's something that I try to carry through my life as I grow, because there's so many choices we have every day, and you need to kind of anchor yourself.
Oh, a few things, but I would just say one on the line that Dani was saying is find your meaning and don't let where you are affect it. So, we could travel the world and we are still just as Jewish as we are when we're home. Find your purpose, find your meaning, and bring that with you wherever, no matter the surroundings, the situation. Your stronghold and your morals and your values are from within, and they just don't let other people affect it. Let your light shine forward without other people trying to dim it. Even if they're trying to dim it, be strong in it. And I think that's when you really appreciate your life and feel your purpose in your life.
I'm not going to enter into that conversation, but but I do want to thank you both. I think you are incredibly inspiring, incredibly positive.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that people greatly benefit. If you aren't following them, That Jewish Family, go and do that. That is where we leave it. Thank you for chatting to us. Thank you for taking the time.